Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Point 99 podcast, a running podcast dreamed up by runners for runners talking about, you guessed it, running. If you're new to running, we hope to have topics and discussions that will help you along whatever path your journey is taking. Or for seasoned runners listening, maybe some stories that will have you empathizing with our experience and predicaments. Whether it's lessons we've learned during our own journeys, embarrassing stories, or heartstring pulling moments, we hope you'll stick with us and have a laugh along the way, sharing good vibes, motivation and positivity as we go. But you join not only me, Mr. Steve Runs, on this podcasting adventure, but also the London lad himself and my running pal, Runnerman Steve.
Hello, mate. You all right?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Ended this week yesterday because I had work today, and so now I'm doing my usual Saturday evening ritual. It's all about balance because we're not professional athletes. So I've got a pint of beer on the go and the podcast. Got the football on TV. So
I will be
living the
joining
dream.
you. I will be joining. Just whiskey and non-alcoholic beer for me. a weird combination, I know.
Yeah, just a bit, but make whatever you enjoy, what you enjoy in life, right?
Exactly. Actually, you say moderation and having the good things in life. I weighed myself just the other day, and I'm not into my weight normally, so I normally give it give it a wide berth. But I've been so surprised at my actual weight just now, and I've been gorging myself like a pig recently, just on donuts and all the kind of things that you shouldn't necessarily have too much of, and I'm so surprised at how light I'm getting.
It's weird, isn't it? I've never been one to, in fact, to be fair, when I was younger, I was obsessed with trying to get bigger because I was naturally slim. But I guess it's that thing where if you're wanting something so much and you're trying to get there, it's almost like you do too much and you get lost. You make people weigh themselves too often when they're not supposed to, and they don't allow themselves to have something to make them happy because they think, oh, I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. So similarly with weight myself at the moment, I'm always conscious. I always get leveled at me. Oh, you need to, eat more because you're doing more run. You're going to lose too much weight. You're losing too much weight in your face and so on and so forth. But I'm actually managed to maintain. So I know I'm in a good place at the moment. So I am, I'm a slim chap, tall, slim, but within the realms of health. So yeah,
That's
I get what you mean,
isn't
totally.
it? Yeah, now you have got to be healthy, but I get the exact same thing. I've recently changed jobs, and every day I go into the office, the two women I work with, it's either you look tired or you look thin, and I'm like, I can't really win.
Oh no, you can't. You can't really win. I've done a training course at work this week, 3 days worth of basically a refreshing course. You have to buy regulation. You've got to do it yearly. And I saw someone I've not seen for a while. She went, "Oh, you're doing marathon again?" I went, "Yeah." She went, "You really look gaunt in the face." I went, "Good morning. How are you doing today?"
Oh,
Thanks for that. Or one person will say, "You are losing a lot of weight." I said, "You can't say that." She went, "Why can't I?" I said, "If I said you're eating too much, getting too fat, you get offended, wouldn't you?" So stop it.
yeah. Don't say it.
But in jest, I used to get really bothered by it, and even as recent as about maybe I think during the summer last year, I'd done a post about it about people making comments they think it's acceptable because you're slim. Well, we have feelings too, people.
I remember that. Yeah, definitely. But you're right. It's as long as we have a balanced week and we're happy and we're being healthy within the realms of what healthy should be. That doesn't really matter, does it?
No, absolutely. And listen, I had little thoughts in my last, and we'll go through it through my last marathon. I was like, oh, I wonder if I cut this out and that and the other and the other. I wonder how fast I could go. And someone messaged me going, yeah, but you need to live life. We're not like Eliud Kipchoge who literally gets paid to run, eat, and sleep. We are not that. So you have to. So yeah, Saturday evenings. I look forward to it. The training for the week is done. I've got no running on Sunday. It's an easy effort on Monday. So you have a couple of beers, and it's the only time of the week that I'll have a couple of beers. The rest of the Sunday through to Friday, I don't have anything at all. So it's balanced.
Same. Fridays and possibly Saturdays, but not most Saturdays. Just every other. Yeah, I'm the same. That's the only time I drink. It's not that I don't necessarily don't want to have a glass of wine or a beer during the week, but yeah, moderation. Got to look forward to the finer things in life at the best of the times when you
That's it, mate. It's all about treating yourself at the end. You've got through another week of training, which is never easy. Even deload weeks, as you know, this week's been a deload week. You think it'd be easier, but you start feeling a few aches here and there through less usage, don't you, and heavier gym sessions. So
exactly.
It's all good. It's what we do it for.
I mean, that's a good time though. Actually, it kind of goes nicely into what we were going to be talking about today. Where you're talking about deload week. So
yes,
we hinted at it in the last episode, our first episode. It was what I thought was a little bit chaotic and tangential, but it seemed to have resonated with quite a few people. Got some really good comments. So I don't know if you heard very much from any of your followers or anything, but generally speaking, episode 1 went well, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so I had a couple of people say, "Oh my god, I didn't know he was doing the podcast." I was like, "Where have you been?" But they said, "Yeah, I'm going to give it a listen." So there's one chap. His name on Instagram is Cole's Running. Good chap. And I usually watch his YouTube videos because he does them every week. He's doing London as well. So it's good to bounce off each other. And he said, "Oh, I'll listen to it. I'll give you a shout." And I said, "I do apologise if it seems somewhat chaotic. It's the first episode. It'll get freshened up at some point and it'll be more of a flow to it." He's like, "No, I want
chaos is good. It gives people stuff to focus on."
Steve, that's what he said to me. He goes, "I prefer the unpolished version of genuine conversation rather than just what you think would be marketable for people. Let me get in, companies to get invested in it. That's not what we do it for. We just two blokes having a chat about running. If people like it, fantastic. Let us know."
Yeah, I was listening to, and I'm gonna mention in our podcast here because I should mention two, because I listened to two other running podcasts, and the guys are being really nice. They shouted us out. Not only in a live stream they were doing on Instagram, but also they're gonna. Well, they said I haven't done it yet. I've got to give them a 30-second advert, and they're going to stick it in their next show. But it's the What the Fartlek guys, the What the Fartlek podcast, and their whole balance of natural banter between, because they all know each other. They're often round about the same sort of area, and their banter is second to none. They're just so natural, but it's not scripted or forced. And then they have a segment where they talk to an influential or inspirational member of the community. And it is a little bit scripted because it kind of has to be to get an interview style done. But it's a really nice balance. And that's what I like about it, because it's got the natural elements, and it's also got the right proper discussion with someone here. And it's on a set topic. So it's really good balance.
Yes, that's the sort of podcasts I like listening to. And there are so many good podcasts out there, so many good ones. But I tend not to really tune into the ones where you've got, say, the super runners, because I don't feel like I can relate to what they're talking about. There's maybe a couple bits here and there that might be the same, but I like relatable things. So
yeah,
you mentioned What the Fartlek. I've listened to one. I do, but I'm going to listen to more. I do, but I saw they were very kind enough to do that after you sent it to me. I did miss it because I try not to spend as much time on Instagram this week. It's sort of failed, but I was trying. But then there's normally, for my long runs, I'll mention one because they come across the same way as well, is natural and just taking the mick out of each other. Is I listen to 40 Runs. So I'll listen to the 40 Runs podcast, and they're exactly the same. They're ribbing each other. They come on, we're going to talk about this, and then about 10, 15 minutes later into the show, they've not even mentioned it because they're just too busy taking the mick out of each other. And it's natural, and it's what we are doing. So it's not like we're doing it to be that, but we're doing our own version of it. So yeah, if chaos is what you like, then you're at the right place.
Well, that's it, just because there's so many, and this other podcast, the Press Play and Run podcast, brand new as well. Ryan's just released his second episode, and he's announced his third. And he gave us the tip to use what we're using today, is Zoom, because our first episode we used, what did we use the first one? Was it Instagram chat, wasn't it? And it was just a recording. And because Zoom has different things that it can do that I didn't know about, and I love my technology, but Ryan gave us the hint to kind of use this. But yeah, Ryan also does. He's a single host, but he has guests on, much the kind of same as the What the Fartlek guys. But so far, his guests have been people that he actually knows. So he's got that element of it's a natural interview because he knows and he's met the people before. And I think anything organic like that is pretty cool. It needs to have it can't be too serious. And so far, anything I listen to, they're serious, but they're not like super serious. They're just getting what they're wanting done and having a good time while doing it, and that's the main thing.
That's the main thing. A bit like what I said last week, or on the last episode. Sorry, I think it was last week we recorded. Was
yeah,
it?
we say last week. Yeah, because
because I was trying to work out when did we record it. So yeah, it's if you've got to enjoy what you do, and I particularly wouldn't enjoy having to stick word to word to a script because it's just robotic. So yeah, I much prefer this way.
I will be honest here for the listeners, anyone listening, we're recording the day after episode 1 came out. And it's only because I am selfishly going on holiday and we need to bank a few episode recordings in. So we're trying to squeeze them in before I go on holiday so we can line them up while I'm away. So I can be lying on a beach just responding to Instagram posts.
Just out there in a nice hot country whilst I'm in the miserable weather.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You can go and see what the sun looks like.
Yeah, exactly. The mythical object that we don't see that much of, and when we do see, everyone seems to complain. But yeah, we touched on just there what we were going to do, what we're going to talk about, and so today's episode, which we mentioned in episode 1, we're going to talk about training blocks for marathons because Steve is on his marathon training block at the moment for the up and coming London Marathon. And we're also going to touch on how we got on with his London Marathon in October. We're going to see what time goes. If we've got time, we'll then start looking at how my marathons went. If not, we'll just cover it next time. It gives us a third episode to look at. But yeah, so we have got everything crossed that we're resonating with the community. And so far, so far so good. Yeah, so far so good. It's getting good feedback. So between now and when this episode goes out, which will be totally professional here, not clicking a calendar at all. So if we're bi-weekly,
you've got more clue than I do.
I know, it'll be the 10th. So this will be going out on the 10th if it's bi-weekly. So
So what you're saying is, don't listen to it on the 10th. Save it for your Valentine's night date. Fantastic, please. You go, babe, don't worry, babe. We're going to listen to the podcast. I know you're excited.
Don't. I've anything I've recommended recently for getaways, it's been. I said to my wife, "Do you fancy going to Bristol?" And her response straight away was, "What running event's on?" And it's the Great Bristol Run. And like, I'm getting ribbed just now by her because every time I mention a running event, it's like, oh, we're not going for a romantic reason, are we? We're going for a running event.
No, Bristol's got a beautiful place. Yeah.
It's romance isn't dead. Steve says, listen to it on Valentine's or listen to it on a long run because the way we're going, it's going to be a long one. But the third episode will come out on the 24th. I was going to say likely come out on the 24th. It will come out on the 24th. And then the fourth episode will be the 10th. So yeah, going forward, bi-weekly. Now that we have more idea of what we're doing, well, I see one episode down, more idea of what we're doing. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, where are we going? Where am I going? We're going to ask you a question, aren't we? I'm going to ask. Yeah, we're going to ask you a question. So, what are we talking about? We're talking about training blocks first to begin with. So, with the marathon training well underway for many of those in the running community, tongue-tied already, who have signed up for spring marathons, such as London and Manchester. We thought we'd kick things off by discussing this man, Runnerman Steve's very own 16-week training block as he chases down his second London Marathon medal. Now, it's only been 7 months since October. It's going to be 7 months between the two.
Yes.
How's it feeling?
Do you know what? The fact that they announced it was going to be in April and the ballot was opening before 2022's event was happening. I think they released they done the ballot, I believe, a couple of days before it, and then I think it lasted about a week and then closed it. So it's almost like that. You've still got that adrenaline pumping through your body. I think I was like, I'm not going to do another charity one. I didn't get a ballot place. I went, I'm doing a charity one. I lied. I lied. I lied. I'm doing a charity one. So I'm running it for a well child. So a great charity. I wanted to do it for a child's charity.
Yeah.
Based on the fact, I've got a daughter. She's 4 years old, and thankfully she's very healthy. But I know not everyone has the same fortune in life. So I want to try and do something to make a difference. And I can't make a difference in my vocation because it doesn't do what I need it to do. So this is my other way of doing that. So yeah, I do feel like I've just come out of training, had Christmas. I was sick over that period, and then straight back into training. But there's been big differences, and I'm only in week 4. And we'll go into that as we get through this point. But yeah, it does feel surreal that I've gone from not doing a marathon to I'm going to do London twice in under 3/4 of a year.
Yeah, it's crazy. And getting into London is hard enough as it is. And all the charity spots, all charities that are part of London are all super worthwhile. It's something that I looked at, but obviously it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to come up with. So it's not that it put me off it, but I have other marathons to worry about at the moment. So it was one that personally I would love to do, but
I'll tell you what,
I missed just now.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's insane. You can't explain how insane the day is. Literally from mile 1 through to 26.2, the streets were lined. It was noisy. I think it was a first marathon post-COVID where it was completely just no rules anywhere at all. It's just everyone go. It was, and everyone showed up. I think that's going to be the same for Tokyo. I think it's in March, isn't it? Tokyo's in March.
Tokyo is around about March, and it's really odd in Japan because they were locked down for so long, and it's only been fairly recently they've become a little bit more lenient on their rules.
Yeah, but they are, and they're not. So obviously, there are certain rules that they have through to culture and whatnot. So what a lot of international runners are going to have to read up and look out on because you don't want to get arrested for something silly that you don't think is nothing. So yeah, I guess it's going to other countries and respecting their culture and just have a good time running it. But yeah, London's definitely one of those ones where you have to experience it. It's insane.
Now, I think for anyone that's run the Big Six or is in the process of running them, the common sort of answer is that London is the best in when we're talking about atmosphere, and then closely followed by your American sort of and some of the Europeans. But it kind of doesn't surprise me that London is one of the better atmospheres because it's just generally speaking, when you go to London, it's got a really nice atmosphere anyway. Well, as a visitor, not as a local like you are.
Depends when you turn up.
Yeah, but I know it's like if you were to come to the Highlands, you will see. I'm speaking for you here. You likely see more of a beauty to it than I do, and I love where I live, and I love the beauty of it. But you've become a little bit numb to your area. So when I come to London, I love buildings. I'm in architecture anyway. Is my line of training and line of work, and I love London. I love the atmosphere, I love the hustle and bustle, and I love the buildings. So
yeah,
from that perspective,
I think I once put up a post for a run, and you messaged me, go, "That's really nice, but what's that building behind you?" I was like, "That, Steve, is a sewage building, my friend."
It's a nice looking sewage building. It's better than the ones we've got.
But it's used now.
You've mentioned you're 4 weeks into your training block. how's the first 4 weeks gone? Did you hit the ground running in respect of, did you work your way into it gently, or did you take the lessons you learned from your training and kind of just go, you know what, I'm going to hit a little bit harder here, but work my way into the tougher weeks with more of a steady increase instead of a mountain to climb?
So with London in mind, I thought to myself that I would aim to get to do a half marathon plan, and to have that half marathon. I think there was one taking place through Run Through Events about, I think it was the 18th of December, and the idea was do the half marathon, go out and race it, try and beat my personal best, and then have 2 or 3 weeks for Christmas and New Year. January 2nd, start training for London Marathon. You'd have a really good base there. So each week I was sort of going up in the stages of total mileage, but not going over more than sort of 10% increase a week, roughly. So the body doesn't get overloaded. And then I got hit by this mystery bug that everyone got over Christmas, which, by the way, I'm convinced was COVID, but it just weren't as deadly, so they weren't telling no one. But that's a different story. Because this was awful. Steve, I kid you not. I felt dreadful. It was worse than when I had COVID, because COVID was a breeze compared to that. It just knocked me for 6. I had to go.
Yeah, I know a lot of people had a similar sort of bug over Christmas and New Year, and they say it was flu. I personally, I didn't get it. In touch wood, my health's been pretty good recently, but I think because we've all been wearing masks, our immune system's been down. So when we do get hit with something, and it could have been the flu for you, it just absolutely floors you.
Oh, floored me weren't the word. I had to go to about 7 different pharmacists just to get some antibiotics. It was chaos. So yeah, anyway, I do all my training through Runner, and I'm sure we'll touch on that as we.
That was actually going to be my second question. Did you use Runner for the first marathon? I can't remember. Yeah, you did. Okay.
Runner got in touch with me. Trying to mentally work it out now. I was training for London Landmarks, and I think it was towards the end of that / after that, they got in touch about testing their app. And back then it was actually called Run Buddy. So they was called Run Buddy, and they rebranded to Runner. By the way, I am an affiliate with them. They're a fantastic app. They're ridiculously good. Their training's really good, and I get on with it. So I'm sticking with Runner. There are also very, very good plans out there that you don't have to pay for, but I feel this is more tailored to what I want to achieve.
Yeah, and this discussion is on what you're doing as well, though, and your London. So I use a different program. I use the Strava training program. So, but this is about you and how you getting on with Runner. So there's something for everyone.
Absolutely. So Runner are super good. They're run by very good people who know what they are doing. So I've been using them again. So you popped in my details. This is what I want to achieve. And I believe, so my thought is, when you start a plan, you need to put in the level you are at currently, where your fitness level is at now, but then a little bit into it. So a little bit into the plan where you hope to be. I would never input to say, okay, I want to run this ridiculous goal, because your body might not be able, you might not be able to do it. We as humans, we don't like to admit, but there are limits to what we can do.
Yeah.
And sadly, there was a chap that didn't make it to the end of the London Marathon.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think he was with the sub 3 groups. Now, sub 3 to me is a ridiculous pace to keep up for the whole lot. And I'm not saying it was what done it is working too hard, but I have seen people just blow themselves out. And I saw it in person, and they don't make it to the end. So you've got to be realistic about your goal. There's no issue with having ambition, but the ambition's got to be realistic. We see it in corporate world all the time. Your targets have got to be realistic. You know, you're not going to say, oh, this week or this month, sorry, you're going to have 0 accidents in a workplace, but you work in a factory. Human factor is going to do something to you. So you've got to be very realistic with what you want to achieve. And then if you want to push some more, you've got to start having a conversation of what am I going to give up? Not give up, but what am I going to sacrifice to get that goal? And there is one person that I listen to, and I listen to them quite regularly. I don't know about you, Steve, but I'll listen to some podcasts over and over again because they hit the spot when you need it. So there was one, I think it was A Runner's Life. I think that might be a name. I might have butchered that name, to be honest, yeah. But there was a chap who I followed on the back of that called Blair Wilson. I think it's Blair Runs online. And I might butcher this saying as well, but he said, you know, doing the thing you said you would do, but when the feeling you had when you said it has gone away. So we all say things where giddy, giddy, giddy. You know, it's like buying a lottery ticket. Oh, I'm going to win. I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to buy a house. It never happens. The feeling goes away. But
do you mean like the saying that we say, we're signing up for a marathon, this is going to be amazing. And then you're running the marathon and you go, why did I sign up for this marathon?
Yeah, but it's that feeling will disappear during your training, and then you're going to work solely on discipline. So yeah, I'm with Runner. Fantastic app. And it's really funny, actually. As it was getting closer and closer to starting on January 2nd, my app, my affiliation, it came up saying, oh, your subscription's expired, got to renew, blah, blah, blah. So I sent a message and say, look, it's come up this. We still cool, we still working. I need to know because otherwise I've got to sort my plan out. And I think because of the Christmas and New Year period, they didn't really get back to me in time. So I actually, and this is a proof in how good they are, I just signed up to pay $15.99 a month. And I thought, I'm just going to use them because I know that they're that good. We got back in touch. Sorry about that, mate. Blah, blah, blah. And it's all good. But yeah, I'm using Runner. Super easy. They've now put on your strength and conditioning workouts with a write-up and a YouTube tutorial done by them for every single movement, every single session, and they map it out for you. So all you've got to do is go, what I've got today, syncs with your Garmin, mate, it's beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's pretty sound, because I had Coach Matthew from Strive. He was a local coach that I can't remember whether we touched on that in episode 1, but yeah, I had a personal trainer for a while, and he would put stuff on my plan like do such and such a Bulgarian variant of such and such, and I'm like, wait, what? I have no idea what that is, and I had to go and look it up every time there was a new exercise came in, because it was done remotely. He was local, but everything was done remotely. That was the perk of the personal training. So that's pretty cool that Run have built this into their app, that you don't have to do that level of legwork. They put it all in one place for you. That sounds really user friendly.
It is super user friendly, and so it's one of the co-founders. He does it. His name's Ben, and it helps when they've got an absolute passion. So they've got the passion just to make loads of money and be successful, but they want people moving properly, and it shows in their content. It really does. And I think they've literally as well. And it goes to show they've just. I don't know if you've just seen it. I've shared it in my stories. They've just become the official training partner of so many big events across the UK. So many big events. So they're getting their due. And so it's been nice to be part of the journey and sharing them out there. But they got me through London, and they're getting me through London again, but only a much stronger version.
Touching, because you kind of dodged around it though. So you mentioned about the inputting the data into the app. So what have you done this time? So last time you would have put in a set amount of data. So for this time round, have you just manipulated that data slightly more because you've increased your fitness level and your ability, or are you started just keeping it level and just saying, you know what, I'm heading for, because you want a sub 4 marathon, am I right in thinking?
I'm actually going to try and hit around about the 3:30 to a 3:45 marker.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's where I'm sort of going with it. I this time I'm going to use the services of the pacers. So I'm going to set off with the free. The plan is to set off with the 3:45s, and then if I feel okay, try and push on a little bit. If not, fall back into the 3:45s. Either way, we're going to PB.
Yeah,
Bosh.
exactly. Yeah, well, you know what to expect now, which is something we'll come
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so the
So
app's helping
with the
you
data,
balance that quite well. Yeah.
yeah. So with the data, so what they do, you get to the beginning of the plan, and they say to you, they ask you, okay, you put down an estimated time of a distance. So it could be your 5K, your 10K, your half marathon. But I didn't put my personal best on there because I wasn't in personal best condition.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that
So
makes perfect sense.
I put down okay, my 5K 22:30 because I knew I could go out and do 22:30 now and be okay. But I didn't think I'd be able to go out and beat a 21:12 because I didn't feel in that shape. I've just come off the back of not feeling very well. I didn't know how the body was going to react to going from not training for 2.5 weeks and then basically going into
That
marathon
sounds like a
training.
sensible approach because yeah, you don't want to go put your prime time out if that makes any sense. You're wanting to go level headed. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's use some sense here.
absolutely. And and like I said, adding in the strength and conditioning, so a dedicated day where I just go to the gym and I do my strength and conditioning, the stretching, the recovery, and I'm feeling a lot stronger for it. My pace is much quicker, and I'm being able to sustain it to the point where I'm finding it very, very comfortable to run at a quicker pace than what I was trying to aim for the first time round. But again, that's all about experience and lessons learned. The strength condition is really, really helping. I know everyone bangs on about it. All my biggest mistake was strength condition. It's so true. It's invaluable, invaluable.
Yeah, strength and conditioning certainly has helped me a lot. And mine's has dropped off a lot recently, but I know that you do these, and it's only something I've started doing recently. But fartlek sessions, easy session. I always did easy sessions, but my easy sessions were only a little bit slower than my normal sessions, so
So
they
they
weren't
weren't really easy,
necessarily
were they?
easy sessions. No,
No,
exactly.
they're almost
Um,
like junk miles.
yeah, they are. It's just a case of going out, and then you think, why am I not getting quicker, or why do I feel equally as rubbish as I would if I did my normal effort? But fartlek sessions, strength and conditioning, all these other sessions you can do that are, I would imagine, are built into the Run app because they're definitely built into the Strava written app. Um, they help so much in decreasing your pace and how comfortable you are over those distances and durations.
Yeah, so they won't write it. So in the title, it always say, Tuesday is tempo, Thursday is threshold, and it's sort of broken down, and you can tell which one is what you're doing. So last week I was doing pyramid intervals. The week before I was doing something that was basically fartlek, but you never really see it saying fartlek as such, but you know what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
They sort of That's how it sort of works out in there. But you'd always get like a nice warm up, so take it at a comfortable pace, then hit the paces, then you do a nice cool down. So you're still getting that easy element into there, but you're putting yourself through that workout. So you're getting good miles out of it, but you're getting good pace out of it as well.
Are they giving you distances to work to, or is it just duration? Because Strava, again, they'll say to you, do a tempo session for 45 minutes to an hour, or do a long run effort between an hour and a half to 2 hours.
No, so it'll be distance.
So
So
you're
it'll
working to
say
distance. Okay.
all my things. There is a total distance there, whether it's doing in broken intervals, and by the end of it, you're going to do X amount of miles, or just just in general. So the other week, the other day, sorry, like I said, it was like do 0.6 miles at X pace, 60 seconds rest, and so on and so forth. So it actually went from point one up to point six. So point 1, 2, 5, 3, 5, 5, 6, and then back down. So up and down again at paces and then cool down. So sort of they're built-in workouts. They're built-in workouts, and they tell you. And the best thing about it, I love, is previously I had a Samsung Gear watch, and they're not that great around running, and it's difficult. But with a Garmin watch, it syncs up with your watch. So it syncs my watch syncs with the calendar. I'll press the button to say start a run, and it will go, it's Tuesday, you're doing tempos, it's 6.4 miles, let's go. And it will buzz and tell me you're going too fast, you're going too slow.
Now that sounds quite similar to, there was a set of headphones I looked at kickstarting. They were very similar to the Shocks. They were bone conductors, and they had a personal trainer that sounds like the same sort of idea that Runner was, and they would buzz you through your ears that you were going too fast, and the AI would say to you, you're going too fast, you're going too slow, and they would just try and encourage you. As it was, they not only were they like 200 quid, but then they wanted a subscription of like 30 quid a month for it. So they were out of my range. It just seemed a bit strange that they were wanting quite a lot of money on top of a lot of money. So Runner, that sounds like it could actually be a good shout. Have it on the phone, have it on the watch, and it'll keep you going at what you've put in. Maybe that's too fast for some people, maybe it's too slow, but it keeps you going, keeps you accountable, and keeps you moving.
Yeah, and like I said, you're true to yourself. What sort of fitness am I in? And then do the strength and conditioning, and the rest of it will follow. So my goal is this year as well. I do want to hit a 5K in sub 20. Like, I'm determined that I'm going to hit it. They've got plans for that, so I know I can get there. But I've done a park run, only 3 weeks into my marathon plan, that has been going so well that I managed to push out the personal best at park run at 21:07, and it felt comfortable. So it's just repetitiveness. And if I ever have a race, or I just want to do just a general plan, it's always going to be them. So to answer, I know it's a long way going around it, but yeah, Runner is, and it's, by the way, it's not an advert for Runner. I'm just saying the honest opinion is they're really great, and I was willing to pay for it when I thought that it weren't going to get on in time for London Marathon training start.
I mean, anyone listening, they hopefully, we're happy to talk about products, but I don't use it, but you do. So it's not really an advert. It's an honest take, I'd say. But it's interesting. It's maybe something I might look at. Not to say I will look at, but it's maybe something I might look at going forward.
I did use for London Landmarks. I used a London Landmarks half marathon free plan that they had on their websites, and I didn't really get on with it because it was so generic. It's like one for all, but it doesn't really work that way. At least with certain apps on your mobile, you can just adjust it to what you are, and you can change a plan halfway through it, and it won't say you've been like the old days. If you didn't save the stuff on the PlayStation memory card, it just disappears. It doesn't disappear. It's still there. The miles are still banked. It just adjusts your mileage and the pressure and pace you'll put for yourself.
Nice. Moving then kind of swiftly towards your work fitness balance in comparison to how you got on first time to how you're getting on with this current training block. Certainly your ability has gone up between the first marathon and the second marathon. Anyone that watches your feed will see that your ability is exponentially higher than your first level. I think that's a positive thing. That sounds like it could be a backhanded compliment, but it's meant as a compliment.
Well, you were a bit crap before, mate.
We all are. But how are you finding the work fitness balance? You managing to juggle your time working as well as being a father and husband as well, with having more full-on training, I would say, compared to what you were doing the first time?
Yes, and what I will say is there's the background noise is my daughter singing a song and putting their Bluey toys everywhere.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. I told you guys, chaos. But yeah, it's great. It's better this time round because it's easier. I think there's no secret in what's happening. Is my daughter the first time round was going to a preschool 8:30 in the morning to 11:30 in the morning. So I do 3 hours. So I do my work. I'd be at work from like 4:30 in the morning till about 1:30. And I was very conscious that hello, what are you doing? Sorry, mate.
You're fine. It's cool.
She's following me around with her bluey toys. Yeah, so I would feel guilty that my wife would not only be waking up at the crack of dawn at 3:30 in the morning because I'm going to work. So she's sort of awake anyway because now she's like, I'm the only parent on guard. And then dropping her off to a preschool and picking her up all before I've even finished my shift. And then we say, right now, I'm going to come home after a 9-hour shift, going to get dressed, stop walking around. I'm sorry. And then, I'd feel guilty about doing my 9.5-hour shift, knowing that my wife has got up at 3:30. Well, I've woke her up at 3:30 in the morning because I'm going to have to go to work. And then, she's only had 3 hours to herself, and she's since picked me daughter up from the preschool, and I'm saying now I'm going to go out for a run. So I did lose a lot of runs in that sense during the marathon plan last time. My daughter this time round is in nursery all day from like sort of 8:30 to 3:30 roughly. So I'd finish work at 1:30, and I've got an hour and a half just to go and to get my run in. So I've not missed a single run yet in 4 weeks. So consistency has been there because
there's an improved in consistency because of the change of circumstances.
Because of the change of circumstances, absolutely. So I mainly work early. I only work early because I always swap my late shifts. Other colleagues want the late shifts because they detest earlys, and I don't blame them. You're up at 3:30 in the morning. But I'm fortuitous. I live about 2 miles away from my place of work, so it's jump in the car, drive 10 minutes, and I'm in the front door. So on average, I get about 5 hours sleep a night, and I still manage to do what I do. So personal circumstances means I can be more consistent, and it showed in the training.
So it's improved from the first time round. But yeah, as you say, it's certainly, to me, looking at your feed, there are massive improvements. But you are looking happier. If you look back at some of your stories, I think we all get that way because your work schedule and your family schedule. You were looking tired. Now we've already touched on that. We can't say that, but you are looking happier. You're looking more energetic, and you just look like you're having more fun with it this time.
Yeah, I am, and there's also an element of work being better as well. They'll get involved in more projects, so I'm not always in the operation as such of the lovely folk of aviation. So yeah, it can be a nightmare sometimes. So yes, it's all good. It's all good. I am feeling in a better place. I'm feeling stronger. And yeah, it's just a general boost from other people as well. The boost from other people they give you, get a message from someone that you've never met, and they say, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy what you're doing. I'm so this. I'm so that," and it helps. It does help when you feel like you're doing something worthwhile. It's not just you talking to a camera and no one's seeing it. You don't do it for like, but it helps.
Yeah. Well, I don't do it so much anymore, but certainly talking to the camera, you're not talking to nobody. You're effectively talking to yourself, but you're also talking to an audience. So it helps. It helped me at the time when I was doing it, to share how things are going. And certainly I enjoy seeing how your training is going, and it certainly looks like it's getting it off of your chest as well, of I'm really happy with this one, or not so happy with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do feel bad a bit sometimes when I see you always come across like you're not grateful that you'd be able to do this like ridiculously good pace. People are like, oh, I'd kill to do that. I know it's all relative, but we all have issues where we go, no, that worked good. I hated that. That was no good. And I've made an effort, a point. I bought a notebook, an A5 notebook, and I've been writing down my run each time. So week 1, run 3, and I can just flick through it. So I'm not always just looking at my phone to compare, go on Garmin, flick through, try and find the run. I've got it written down. How did it feel? What was the average heart rate? okay, last week's average heart rate on an easy run was 148, but this week it was 140. What was the difference? Is it just
Yeah.
fitness? And it's just comparing that way and not having to flick through the phone all the time to find the run, you know?
Opposed to like trying to find it on Strava as well. You've got a few notes there by the sounds of it. It's almost like a little run diary of you did the distance, you did the time, here's the vital stats, but also how did it actually feel? Because sometimes your heart rate can be going through the roof, but you could be really enjoying it. And circumstances, you might have a little bit of a bug that you don't know about. Your heart rate's maybe up a little bit, but if you don't write down the notes, you don't actually know how that run was.
No, absolutely, and that's what's helped me as well. I get home and I basically write it down. It's like you've just done an information dump, very short. Just for example, um, week 3, run 1, 6.8 easy. Plan was to do such and such, and then I just say that's that. Do you know, make sense? So yeah, so I've been writing down my runs on a notebook just to compare. As I said, compare everything, and it's not just junk. Well, it's not junk, but it's not, all your average pace was. It's not just the headline. You get more in the body.
It's not robotic. Yeah, it's again, we're talking about organic and natural. It's your thoughts and feelings on how the run was. It's not just here's the statistics of what your watch has picked up.
Yeah, I mean, even example, I've written strength and condition session, all the deadlifts. I'm going to feel this tomorrow, and I did, but I want to get it written down the moment that I get home, or if I know I'm not going to get home, I'll write it on notes on my phone. I want to get what I feel in its rawest state rather than looking back on it. I want it to be at its most honest answer.
Yeah, you don't want a rose-tinted version.
Yeah.
So before we move on to how your first marathon went, because we've touched on it through how this training block's been going, and I think anyone listening can tell it's been going really well for you. To me, it sounds like you're having a blast, and that's really good to hear. And it's especially good because I know from having had marathon experience myself, albeit just the 2 as well, you do naturally feel more comfortable with your training. It's not so alien. So again, looking back on how the training went for the first marathon, other than like generally your ability and your fitness level and kind of generally levels of preparedness, what would you say is the singular or couple of things you might be finding more difficult, if any?
Oh, that's a good question. I find more. I always find the nutrition side difficult. I can't lie. I'm not on a strict diet, but it's trying to get food in as much as you can. I mean, I was absolutely starving at work today. I was like, this is criminal. It's 6 a.m. What's going on? It just makes me I feel so much more hungrier, and maybe that's because I'm hitting more runs.
Well, that's it. Your body's working so much harder now than it might have necessarily been in the first time round.
It's that point, and I've been actively taking more protein shakes after runs, so not as a substitute, but as a supplement. Trying to get the thing. I'm eating when my daughter eats food. Then after when she goes to bed, I'm eating food again, and it's just trying to get that stuff in the body to give me the energy to hit the run. And sometimes I'd look at the cooker, look at the oven. I can't be bothered. I just cannot be bothered. I look at it. You know what? I'm not thinking about how good the food's going to taste. Like, oh yeah, but I'm going to have to wash it up. I'm going to have to take it out of the oven. I'd rather just sit here and wallow and watch TV. And you just look at Just Eat. You go, shall I? So that one's difficult. Foam rolling is very difficult.
Like recovery, yeah. But I think recovery for most people, we were talking about this, I think, before we pressed record. I think it was. It might have been when I might listen back and when I'm editing go, I've already said that. But I do find when you do it, it makes a big difference. But there's so many people that don't do it. Now, I'm as I say, intermittent, and it tends to help me when I do it. I'm just lazy when it comes to recovery sessions and foam rolling and gunning.
Last time round, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do my strength and conditioning. It's really easy because I can do it at home. And then my daughter goes to sleep, and I just sit there and watch TV. And I'm like, this is my recovery. This is fantastic. And even though my physio was like, you must be doing this, you've got to do that, because I had an ITB issue. So I've learned the hard way. So yeah, I will do my recovery, and I'll do it not every night, but 2-3 times a week. I'll just foam roll and massage gun, particularly after the heavier sessions.
I tell you, there's a guy, I've actually seen him. I've got Insta open on one of my monitors, and there's a guy. He has a great reel on. He says he doesn't do recovery, but I think he does. He's a bit of a beast of a looking guy. You might have seen him, but Omar Runs Napa is his handle. Omar Point Napa, and he has this great reel where it's like him walking past his massage gun and his roller every day for 7 days a week. I think he uses it, but at the same time, we're all like that. We don't use it as much as we could, but yeah, it is really beneficial when you do use it.
Absolutely. You feel better. It's not going to cure you. You're not going to wake up the next day and think, I feel fantastic, but you'll feel better than what you did. So that's my whole reason why I do it, and I know it's working so far. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
What we will say though, we'll caveat this: if you don't do recovery at the moment, and it's something you're looking at, and it was something that one of the world's strongmen, he lives in a town along from me, and he said this on one of their YouTube videos. If you're going to do it, it does have its benefits, but don't do it straight after the exercise that you've just done, because you're actually getting no benefit from it. Then you've worked your muscles are torn because you've been out running or you've done a strength and conditioning, and they need time to repair a little bit. So give it half a day, give it a few hours before you use the hammer gun on it. Overusing it anyway, because you're not going to do yourself any favors there.
No, I'll never do it straight away. I won't get home and go, right, where's the roller?
Yeah, you're just going to hurt yourself.
I'll get home and just say, pop a pod in the coffee machine. Let's go. I love my coffee machine, Steve. Oh, it's amazing.
Keep your energy levels up. If you're up at that time in the morning and you're on the go all the time, you need to keep your caffeine levels up, your energy levels.
Some days you've got to pop a strength 11 espresso straight down the hatchet. You're done. Happy days. No, I love it. Absolutely love it. And then pop into the local supermarket up the road and eat about 4,000 croissants. It's fantastic. It's beautiful.
I think that are probably the two good things to find more difficult anyway is actually it is still recovery, and it is I certainly know what you mean when you say nutrition, because it is difficult. The more you're exercising, you need more fuel in your tank, but at the same time in your head you're going, I don't need to eat anymore. I'm eating enough, but you kind of sometimes do need to get a bit of bread or a bit of toast with peanut butter just to give you that little extra boost that you're needing. You are needing because you're working it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I don't even make it to the bread. I just get a spoon and I'm eating peanut butter out of a jar like an absolute wrong un.
You're not getting a spoon, are you? Just getting your fingers, aren't you? Just scooping it up with 2 fingers.
Yeah. I was like, have some of that. I'm happy I'm the only one that eats peanut butter in this house.
We're quite far on already in this episode. So what we'll do is we will touch on your first marathon, and then we'll revisit, if not in the 3rd episode, maybe in the 4th. We'll maybe look at another topic, which we'll announce later in the time. So episode 3, as we say, is going to be around about or on the 24th. It's going to be on the 24th. I keep saying around about. We might not continue this discussion on my marathon experience, but to cap this episode off, we're going to move on to how your first marathon went, and I want you to be as honest as you feel comfortable with, from how the morning when, or even maybe the night before, how it all panned out? Because I know from looking at your stories and from looking at the reels, it didn't go necessarily to the original plan that you had, but nothing ever does. We just have to. It's how you work with the situation as it's there. So do you want to run us through your first marathon experience? And as I say, give us as much or as little detail as you want to give us.
Yeah. So I'll give as much detail, mate. I'm not embarrassed by any of it. It shapes us. It's what we are. So I think the realization of what I was about to do hit me hard at the expo. So when I turned up, collected my race number, that's when it hit me. I was like, you are going to run the London Marathon. I know you've been training for 16 weeks. Well, by that point, 15 and a half, because you go up there. I think they open up collections on the Wednesday before the marathon itself. So 15 and a half weeks running. It's only that point it hit me hard. And I stood there and I didn't freeze in the queues. I was like, oh my God, it's happening. It always seems so far away when you sign up to it. And then the weeks just go, just rattle off one by one. Fast forward to the day, the night before, I was very, very calm. I slept very well. I had the mindset of I can't do any more than what I've done. So there's no point losing. I've always been able to do that, just to switch off. I've done as much studying as I can. I can't cram no more in. Whatever happens, happens. The day itself, a funny story. And it's not funny. Looking back at it, I was stupid. So London Marathon, they allow you, and I'm surprised they still allowed it to happen because of COVID and they don't allow you to do it anymore. But if you're taking part in the event, you travel on the Transport for London network for free. Okay, so your train there or buses or DLRs or whatever you're going to get are all free. You show your medal on the way back, or you're straight through. So I got to the station. There's about 5 or 6 of us. Didn't know any of them. There was no one there at the barriers, even though I was told there'll be people at the barriers. Do not swipe your card. Do not pay for your travel. I thought, out of principle, I'm not paying. So I went into my sort of teen days, and I just thought, I'm just going to jump over the barrier, mate. So I jumped over the barrier, and I landed very awkwardly on my right foot. Right? And I had the instant moment, thought of, oh, what have I just done? Thankfully, there was nothing. Walked off. Happy days. Got to a DLR, Docklands Light Railway, for those that are not from London.
You have to remember, they're looking at the statistics. Some of our listeners are in the States.
Yes, really? I've not seen the statistics.
I've not showed you yet. Yeah.
Yeah, not shown me yet. So, it's a bit like the metro, the monorail, shall we say, of Disney. It's but not as glamorous, and and the sights onto the Docklands are horrendous. Anyway, I'm not, London's beautiful. Come over. No, but what we're talking about is, it's supposed to be free travel, and I've jumped over, carried on, and then I have met a few runners on the train, having a little chat with them, and I just followed anyone that had a red race number. So we're all going to the red starting point up at Blackheath, having a chat with some of those. I still talk to them now. I've met people on the day that I'd never met before, never spoken to before, and I still talk to them now. Some really great people. One of them's called Steve, so obviously I'm going to like him. It's a Steve thing going on here. So get to the starting point. You go for about you go to the Portaloos about 4,000 times when you don't need to, just to make sure you're okay. And I remember standing there at the starting line. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, good luck, everyone. And not a soul replied. I was like, you've had me right up here. You've had me right. Pull me pants right down. A lot of you. Right. I hope you miss the water stations. I'm joking. Don't miss the water stations. Get your water. But they had me right up. No one. There's like in the zone.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, don't talk to me, mate. We're in a red start. All right, sunshine. Don't talk. We're gone. Right, cool. I was running about. I was high-fiving the kids. I've got to get to 17 miles in. I was like, my hip hurts. Oh, no. But the full process I went through my head, though, all Joe said was like Mickey Flanagan. And I was on the course, and you've got to finish the course. So there's no way I'm not stopping. I didn't stop once. I moved in some capacity all the way through. I didn't stop because it would have been much more difficult to stop and then start walking and back into running again. And I thought, well, you might as well go out. So I tried running through this pain. And yeah, the flare up was disgusting. I tried searching why. Why did it flare up? It didn't do this through training. It was that denial. And when I saw the time was slipping away, I thought, you know what? It is what it is. The time, I don't care about the time, because at the end of this, when I get to the end, when I go down the mile and it says 400 meters to go, and I cross that line, and the amazing volunteers that make it all possible give you the medal, it's my first marathon. So A, distance is a PB. B, time is a PB. You're guaranteed a PB just by starting the line and crossing the line. End of story. It doesn't matter what happens in between. It doesn't go how you want it to go. My only bit of advice to anyone doing the marathon for the first time is just enjoy it. I wish I'd said, you know what, I'm going to enjoy it. The time's going to be the time. Don't put pressure on yourself for a time, because once you put it out there, Instagram's all good for accountability. But if you put a time goal out there and you don't get it, you feel, oh, there's a bit of a silly boy then, you know?
Yeah, but then in reality, anyone that's got a sense of decency wouldn't have brought you up on if you said you were going to do a sub 4 and you didn't do a sub 4. No one would have done anyway. But you're right. It's at that point you've really just got to get to the finish line and enjoy the rest of the run.
Absolutely. And you know, it was round mile 17. I think I got through to about 19, and I thought, this is intense. And it was everyone, you know, and also the biggest bit of advice is get your name across your vest, because the people that were just shouting your name to will you on, to push you through, help me get through. And I think I got to mile 25. I knew my brother was there, my sister-in-law was there, my wife was there, and when I saw them shouting for me, I just felt like I was just going to lose all composure and just let all these feelings out. It was insane. They're people I see every day, or every now and again, because my brother moved away to somewhere else. But it's people you see all the time and you talk to all the time. But in that setting, in that situation, that meant more than any other time, because they're there cheering you on, and you've gone 25 miles. You're at a death mile. 25 miles is a death mile. Absolutely. You're so close to the end, but it feels like it's another 10 miles away. So yeah, it was insane. And afterwards, trying to find anyone in that area is like finding a needle in a haystack. The meeting points feel like a million miles away, and I just plonked myself next to a Portaloo, just in a collapsed heap, drinking Coca-Cola, because it was what brought me back to life. So it didn't go how I wanted it to go, but it shaped the way the next one's going to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think at the time when you finished a marathon, and I think my two comparisons, although they have their similarities, they are polar opposites. But I know exactly how you feel when you right at the end of your first marathon. You've gone through that torment of you've not necessarily hit a wall, but you've had an obstacle to overcome, and you've had a long way to come from the 17th mile to the end, and you think, sod this, I'm sitting my backside down, and anyone that wants to find me can find me. And you always have a little bit of a sulk. As much as you're really happy that you've done it, you have a little bit of a sulk. You think, I'm never doing this again. Give it 5 minutes later, your attitude is completely changed. You're like, right, when can I sign up again? Where am I going next?
Absolutely. I think halfway through training last year, because it was so hot, so hot, the training was horrendous, and I've much preferred winter training over any other training. I much prefer it. I've got more time. The temperatures are easier to deal with. And I got through halfway through last one. I go, I am not doing this again. I'm going to see this one through, but it's not happening again. And when I signed up, someone said, I thought you weren't doing it again. I went, you didn't see it, man. And I was like, you weren't out there, man. You didn't see it.
You see a lot of things in the heat of the moment, especially when you finish your first marathon. But you're right. I have a half marathon coming up just as I come back from holiday. I've got a half marathon, and it's always the same time every year, and it's a winter training block. Apart from the potential of ice that everyone's had, and you always, I think anyone that's running a London Marathon in its standard time slot, like it's back in, has ice potential to deal with, but it is a much nicer time of the year to be training because yes, the air temperatures might be lower, but your body temperatures are rising quite quick, and it's nice to have that medium level of you're not too hot and you're not too cold by the end of it.
Absolutely. And rule number one, I'm always in shorts. Doesn't matter how cold it is outside. The shorts are on.
Shorts and vest. That's the one. No, you put something up about that. I will always wear shorts, but even I sometimes don't wear the vest. I will wear a t-shirt.
No, I'll wear a t-shirt and like a long sleeve Asics top if I'm
underneath,
not doing too much of a workout in there. But because I tell you, my hands will go freezing cold, but my legs will be just absolutely roasting.
For what you said though from that first marathon, I knew a lot of that anyway because we've had discussions in the past. But it's a very similar story to how my first marathon went. And if there's one thing, you're already going to know this because you're already well on your way with your training. You're in a much better place with having the understanding of how the first marathon's gone. But if there's anything I can say to you, is the second marathon should, I'm not saying it will, but should feel so much more natural. And although you won't necessarily be taking in the full atmosphere, you'll still have more time to take it in because it'll be more autopilot.
Yeah, so you know what to expect. I think there's what I read when I first started running, thinking I'm going to go do a half marathon. Online it says, well, if you can do a 10K, you can do a half. And it says, if you can do a half, you can do a marathon. I was like, where is the middle ground here? You've just doubled it up, doubled.
Do we think the national services have been reading those articles? If you can fix a bike, you can fix a car. If you can fix a car, you can fix a Harrier jump jet. If you can run a 5K, you can run a marathon.
Yeah, it's insane. And listen, I love the marathon. I love it. It takes you on a journey that you don't get. I know obviously there'll be people out there that run ultras and are like absolute gods. I can't picture myself doing an ultra at any point in my future. I've got no ambition for it.
I'm going to stop you there, Steve, because when you finished your second marathon, it's there. That's the next step. That idea has already been planted. Never say never.
I would always say never, but I am saying never. If anyone ever hears me say, I think I might do an ultra, feel free just to digitally slap me because it's not happening. It's not happening.
I'll put it this way: if you do, well, because I know for certain. When we're getting away from, I think we've covered the marathon of it.
Tangents
with doing the Loch Ness 24. And I have to give the shout out to the media team for the Loch Ness 24. I didn't tell them about that initial episode, the bonus episode before episode 1 came out. And there's been a few people asking through the Loch Ness 24 network, what's it like? So I shared the podcast with them, and they've tagged Loch Ness 24, and they actually hadn't heard it. So they're now sharing it because they've listened to it and gone, it's my personal review of the event, but I would like to think that it's actually a really positive review of it. They're loving it. They're sharing it. But to cut a long story short, that's an ultra event. Although it's not marketed as an ultra event, it is an ultra event.
Yeah, I have no ambitions for ultra. Oh, you know what? It's funny because, like I said, the marathon will teach you more about yourself and your mental resilience and your physicality than any other distance before it. But half marathon will always be my favourite event, my favourite distance to run. Will always be my favourite one because I feel like I can warm into it, but then I know I've got a window where I can just go, right, I'm not going to hell for leather, but I can run at a faster pace across some miles, knowing that when I get to a sort of cool down area, I'm basically near the end. It's a bit more difficult to work out a race strategy for a marathon, I've found.
Yeah, I would agree 15 kilometers to half marathon is where my mindset is now based. And for having struggled with 5Ks and 10Ks in the past, to be on that 15K run to half marathon distance, it is crazy to think that that's your optimum level. But you're right. It's until you've done a marathon, and especially if it's a marathon, even a marathon you've never done, if you don't know the distance, or you don't know that you get to a certain landmark and you go, I'm nearly there, I'm almost at the end. It's such a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, and you know what as well? If we could all just start training miles, that'd be fantastic. Because I swear, one of the things that really gives you that little bit of, oh, I've passed another mile, and you realise you haven't because the person next to you is running kilometres, and they're watching people and going, kilometre over. And you're like, oh, it's a mile. Go, hang about. Oh, you're kilometres.
I will touch on this in my review of my first marathon, but there was a section, and this is a tease now. Of what I'll be going, one of the things I'll be going over. But I did get running along beside this couple, and they were Americans, and all these watches were beeping. They're going, that's not us. We're running in kilometers. And the woman goes, oh, why are some people in miles and some people in kilometers? Can we not all just be in kilometers? And I went, yeah, but if you're in miles, you're in the UK. We usually but measure things in miles. But if you're running in miles, it's a shorter distance. And she goes, yeah, there is that. I says, yeah, but also on your side, you're running kilometers, you're running faster sections, aren't you? You're hearing the beat more often. It gives you that little boost.
Absolutely. And I had that exact conversation at Parkrun a couple of weeks ago. 2 of us done miles, 2 of us were in kilometers. And I said, my mindset is, if I've run 6 miles, it will say I've got 20 miles to go, 20.2 miles to go. If I run in kilometers and I've run 10, I've still got 32 to go. What do you mean I've got 32? No, chuck these kilometers in the bin, mate. It's miles.
Oh,
but they do tick over the kilometers quicker. They hear more beeps on their watch.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's just what helps you out mentally. For me, is I've got less miles, less distance in numbers. The same distance we're doing, but the watch has a lower number, and for me that mentally helps me out more than saying I've got 42.195 to go.
We'll leave that for the listeners as a good way to kind of almost give it a natural ending to this episode. Anyone listening, get in the comments, tell us if you're club kilometers or club miles, and we'll see. Because I know there's a good balance of people that use one or the other. I know somebody uses both, which blows my mind.
Mate, they just love chaos. They just love chaos. I mean, I put a story up, I think a couple of weeks ago, saying, are you miles or are you kilometers? And I think I got about 50 to 60 people voted, and it was 50-50.
Yeah.
I'm like, you lot are useless.
Exactly. It's gonna... It's like Marmite. It's the Marmite question. But no, that's been really good insight into your training and your marathon, and we could literally talk about it all night. But we're obviously conscious of time, and Mr. Steve's here. This his life balance there of. He's got his daughter to go and fish out of a bath, I think. So
she's not made it to the bath yet.
She's not made it to the bath. Oh God! We'll call it. We're going to call it there, and we've mentioned it a couple of times in the episode. But yeah, episode 3 will be out on the 24th of February. what we'll be covering, we'll cover that in the socials. It will likely be just without having to brainstorm too much. It will likely be how my marathons went, my marathon 1 and my marathon 2, because that will take up quite a amount of time. And then a kind of forward-looking crystal ball into my next marathon I signed up for, which is Amsterdam in October, and now on the 15th of October. But I might have a marathon before that. Watch this space. So, I think that's been a really good chat, and I think it's been a little bit less chaotic than episode 1. The tangents weren't so vast, but they're still great. I love the tangents because it gives us more topics to talk about and is more fluid.
Yeah, I feel so as well. I feel like it leaves, a natural conversation rather than thinking you've got to ask a certain question and get a certain answer. Just let it all out and happy days.
Right. So how am I going to end this? We'd still don't have a natural ending to this, but I'll look back.
That's all, folks.
That's what we can. Yeah. So, if it's the same as anything, let us know how you got on with episode 1, what your thoughts were. But yeah, let us know how you felt this episode went. We want to learn. We want honest opinions. We want constructive criticism. We want to build a podcast that you guys want to listen to. So I think that's probably a good way of ending it, is let us know what you think. And hopefully you can tune in on the 24th to see how my marathons went.
Yes, you've kept it pretty perfectly, yeah. To be fair. But no, I've appreciated the tags, and I've had a fair few new followers that's come off the back of this. So if you have followed me, thank you. I hope that you don't find my page too tedious. But it's unedited, and if the run's been rubbish, I'm going to tell you it's been rubbish. So, but I think we need to see that out there. It's not everything goes to plan, but it's just being honest with what you're doing, because it can get overwhelming for people saying, well, why is their runs going perfectly every time and mine aren't? So it is real. We get through real stuff. We talk about real stuff. Happy days.
Yeah, I think that's us. Until next time, guys, though, hope you enjoy your runs. Hope your training's going well. Just stay as healthy as you can. Stay happy, stay motivated, and share the love.
Goodbye.
Bye.